tell you a few stories. Yeah, I have a tail. And
where did you get it?
I made it. I made it. Yeah, I sewed it.
How did you make the dress?
I'll have to tell you later, because I got to tell you a story now. Okay, so the first story I'm going to tell you, it's a folk tale, and it's how Tiger learned to hunt. So you're in the jungle, and we have Tiger, and he's big, and he's good looking. And he's orange, and he's got his beautiful black stripes, and he's got a really big tail, way bigger than this one. And he's going in the jungle, and he's a little bit slow and smooth, and he thinks he's pretty cool, but he's not very good at catching his dinner. You see, there's an antelope, and he's pardon me. And no, he did not catch his dinner. So there's a rabbit. Oh, no, he's too slow. He can't catch the rabbit. Oh, what is a poor tiger to do? So he says, I'm not doing very well at this. I've got these big claws and this lovely tail, and I can't catch anything. So I think I'll go and talk to my cousin, the house cat. So he goes to the cat's house, little cottage by the forest, and knock, 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 knock. And Cat opens the door and she goes, oh, it's you. What do you want? And he's like, oh, please, Cat, I'm so hungry. I can't catch any dinner. Could you spare a couple of mice and maybe a bird or two? And so she said, all right. Come in. And so he goes in the cottage, and on the shelf he sees mice and birds, and maybe some tails, and all this lovely food. And she's like, all right, help yourself. So he's like, and he eats a whole bunch of it because he's really hungry. And he's like, oh, that was great. Thank you, Cat. And then she's like, well, you know, you can't keep coming here. You're going to have to learn how to do this yourself. So he's like, okay, well, show me what you do to catch your dinner. So,
show me what I got.
No, so they go outside.
I got a robot at home.
Yes, they go out into the forest, and so Cat, and she says, hey, she brings herself a little first. She gets herself ready, and she kind of just sits down, and then she takes her tail, and her tail just kind of goes like this, moves it really slowly, and then along comes a mouse, and the mouse sees the tail, and the mouse is like, what is that? And then the mouse gets closer and goes, what is that? And closer. And then what? Oh yeah! And the cat! She caught her dinner. And the tiger's just like, wow! That was really cool! So then he thinks, okay, I'm going to go back to the jungle and I'm going to try that. So the tiger goes back to the jungle. As he sits down, he takes his nice big paws and he kind of sits himself down all comfy, and then he takes his really big tail and he does the same thing really slowly. And then maybe a rabbit comes by, and the rabbit's like, oh, what is that? You know how rabbits, their nose, something kind of nervous. What is that? And then he gets a little too close and and the tiger's so proud. Yes, I caught my own dinner. Hurrah! And so that, my friends, is how Tiger learned to hunt. What do you think happens if you don't wash behind your ears?
They just get really, really stinky.
Yeah, and if it builds up, and there's lots and lots of dirt, and it just keeps on building.
That's right.
I will tell you. Because this happened to a boy I know named Dan. So Dan liked to have fun. He liked to play, he liked to hang out, go outside. He didn't really like brushing his teeth. He thought it was kind of boring. He thought, oh, taking a bath, kind of boring. And washing behind his ears. What do you think that was? Boring. So he kind of didn't bother. And he was a little smelly. It was all this lovely dirt. Yeah. And you know, his mom had said, wash behind your ears, wash behind your ears. And he's just like, yeah, but he didn't really. So he's outside and he's lying in the grass. He's lying in the grass, he's all relaxing, and sunshine, and the wind is blowing nicely. And he's just kind of lying there, and his ears are really close to the ground, all that lovely dirt. And along comes 2 itty bitty worms, and they just kind of go, oh, that looks nice, and they just crawl right in. And then the little tickles a little bit. That's okay. So then the breeze is blowing, and it's spring. So there's all these little seeds floating around in the air. And so a few little seeds end up in behind his ears. And so he's like, he wakes up, he's kind of a little bit hungry, so he figures, okay, I'll go home, it's time for dinner. And then after dinner, you know, he goes upstairs, he's supposed to have a bath, he kind of just splashes a little, he doesn't really wash, but he gets it wet. So then what do you think happens? A couple days later, there's something kind of poking up. You know, when he gets up one morning, he's like, man, what is that? And he goes in the bathroom and he gets the mirror that his mom has, and there's a big mirror behind him, and he's kind of looking, and he sees some green things growing off his head. He's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So this happens, you know, for a couple of days, and eventually the green things get bigger and bigger until they're a little more noticeable. And he comes downstairs. And he goes down for breakfast, and his sister Mary sees him, and she's just like, oh, what is that on your head? Because there's all these green things sticking out, and his whole family's like, oh no. And his parents have decided, well, we'll just let him figure it out for himself. I'm not going to say anything. And so he goes off to school, and he's got the green things sticking out, and he's like, yeah. And his friend Paul goes, what is that? And he's like, yeah. And he goes to school, and everyone's like, what is that? What is that? And they're all looking. Paul's got, what? Dan's got something growing on his head. So this goes on for a couple of days, and then he wakes up one morning, and poof, green leaves all over his head, because they've all opened up wide now. And he goes downstairs in the morning, and the family sees this. It looks like a big green hat. And they're just like, oh my goodness. So they just, you know, off he goes to school, and his friend Paul is going, so you got green things growing on your head. So what is it? What is it? And Dan goes, surprise for your eyes. Because Dan doesn't actually know what he's growing on his head, but he thinks it's cool. And he likes all the attention, so he figures he's just going to keep going with it. Then he goes to school, and everyone's looking and going, whoa, he's got leaves on his head. And carries on, and then eventually some stalks grow up, real sticks, stems, and then pods like this, bright green with ridges on them, and they all come up, and they're there. And then one morning he wakes up, and the pods have opened up, and they're bright yellow, fluffy flowers. And so he has a big yellow halo of flowers on his head. And so he walks downstairs, and his family takes one look, and they go, you've got dandelions on your head! And they're just like, oh. So they're just like, oh, And so off he goes to school, and it's like, yeah, this is great, fun. And he gets there, and his friend Paul goes, dandelion, Dan, you've got dandelions on your head, ew. And then, you know, he's going to school, and he's thinking, oh, that's not the reaction I was hoping for. And he gets to school, and there's a cute girl in his class that he likes, and she's like, ew, weeds, yuck, get away. And that's the general reaction, is like, ew, weeds, dandelions, ew, and nobody wants to hang around with him. And they won't let him play soccer, and they won't sit by him in class, because he's pretty smelly, too, from not washing. So, you know, he goes home, and it's like, well, not quite as much fun, but it's still kind of okay. I mean, you can't really get any worse, can it? Well, guess what happens to those dandelions?
What?
A few more days, and those yellow flowers turn into fluff! Fluff balls! He's got a whole head full of white fluff! And it doesn't just stay there all nice and neat. It comes off, and it's on his pajamas, and it's on his bed, and it's on his pretty cool. And Dad's just like, oh boy, this isn't much fun. So everybody gets dressed and he's got dandelion fluff all over. He goes downstairs. And his family, they just don't even say anything. It's just Dad gets out the Hoover and starts cleaning and they send him to school. But you know, when he goes to school, they take one look at him and the teachers are, home you go, young man, until you clean yourself up. So then he's kind of like this. Do I need to stop or anything? Okay.
I can go right ahead. I think somebody's coming over.
So Dan's a little bit sad now because, you know, he's got dandelion fluff all over him. Nobody wants to hang out with him. So he goes home and he goes to his mom and he goes, Mom, this isn't really any fun anymore. Do you think I could maybe have a bath or something? And his mom, of course, is like, yes, my son, of course. And she runs a bath, puts the bubbles in, puts some toys in. So they take the little worms out of his ears, and they take the dandelions and they throw that in the garbage, and they put his clothes in the laundry. And then Dan takes a nice bath, and he's having some fun, and he's playing with his mom, and then he gets out and she dries him off. And it's all lovely and nice. And so then she tucks him into bed. The whole family has said goodnight, and they're like, oh, you're so lovely and clean. How nice you smell. Dad, lovely Dad. And so Dad is going to sleep. And as he's falling asleep, he's thinking, and he's like, I wonder, radishes. And he falls asleep. That is the story of Dandelion Dan.
That was a funny story.
Good. Now, I have another folk tale for you, just another short one. And this is from Nigeria. And it's actually why the sun and the moon live in the sky. So the sun and the moon. So this is the sun. The sun, he's like, I am radiant and wonderful. And the moon sees him and she's like, yeah, he's all right. And so they kind of fall in love and they get married. She's like, yes, I get to marry the hot guy. And so everything's good. They build themselves a little house together. They move in. They get it all decorated. A little sand on the floor. Stars here and there. Decorated up. And then the moon says, honey, we need to have somebody over. Show off our nice little house. It's a great idea. So they invite Ocean. Ocean comes over and they have a party. And they think, wow, Ocean is having such a good time with them. He said, I really like it here. I'd like to move in. So then the moon kind of go, sure, why not? Move the more the merrier, they think. And so then Ocean goes, great. And so he moves in, but he brings all of his friends. He brings the whales and the porpoises and the starfish. And it's getting pretty crowded in that house. And the water's kind of filling up, glug, 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 glug. And so pretty soon there's no room for sun and moon anymore. So they decide, well, let's leave him the house. Let Ocean can stay here with all his friends. We'll go upstairs, we'll move out. So they moved out of the house and up into the sky, and they thought, yeah, this is pretty nice up here. And so that is why the sun and the moon live in the sky now.